Hello and welcome to the new lesson on Azure Technical Skills. In this lesson, we will talk about Azure Storage. Azure Storage is a cloud-based storage solution where you can store files, messages, or structured data like tables. Azure Storage also acts as a store for storing data for our websites, mobile, and desktop applications. Azure Storage can generally be thought of as three categories, which includes storage for virtual machines like disks, which are persistent storage disks, and files, which are fully managed Azure storage solution. And then we have unstructured data, so-called blobs, and we can basically dump any kind of data in it. Blobs can also be used for storing huge static data for our websites, let's say images or audio files for our websites. Finally, we have structured data category, which holds tables for relational databases like Cosmos DB or Azure SQL database. We can create file shares in our Azure storage accounts which use SMB protocol. This protocol allows multiple virtual machines to access the file share at the same time with full read and write access. Okay, so it is important to understand when do we use file shares and when do we use blobs. File share is fully managed storage protocol. Not protocol, it says fully managed storage solution which uses industry standard SMB protocol so that the file share can be mounted by multiple virtual machines concurrently, whether it be a Linux or Windows environment. File shares can also be used for huge data migrations from on-premises to the Azure storage. And as discussed earlier, we can use blob storage to hold our website content. Okay, so blob is scalable, which means that we can in theory upload any amount of data onto it. Okay, now all the theory aside, let's see how we can use Azure storage services. The objective of this lab is to create a storage account, and then within that we will create a file share or a blob container and upload some data using portal, and then we'll see another utility called Azure File Explorer, and which we'll be using for the same purpose, like uploading the data to a container. Okay, so let's see how it is done. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to create a storage account. So I will click on storage accounts and then click on the add button, and then I will select the subscription, and then I'll select my resource group in which I want my storage account to reside in, and then the name of the storage account. Now the name of the storage account has to be unique because we can either select this storage account to be accessed over the whole internet or some specific virtual networks. So for that reason, this storage account has to have a unique name. Okay, so in my case, I will just type in this is my storage. And remember, you do not need to provide any spaces in that. Okay, it will not accept that. And then the performance wise, you can just read this exclamation mark, the option that it says over here, the description. And based upon your requirement, you can select either standard or a premium one. Okay, I'll leave the location as East US. And then the type of account, okay, it gives me three types of accounts. One is the general purpose V2. Then we have general purpose V1, and then it's the blob storage. Okay, so in case of blob storage, it will be specific to blob. Okay, I will be only able to create blob storage within this storage account, and these other two are the generic ones. Okay, so I'll just select the minimum one, which is storage general purpose V1. And then if you want some sort of infrastructure redundancy, in that case we will be selecting these options as required. Okay, so locally redundant storage is actually our storage account will be replicated within the same data centers. Okay, in case of geo-redundant storage, our storage account will be replicated across multiple data centers within some geographical region. And then the third option is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, it's the read access go redundant storage access. Okay, so if I need that option, I'll select that. But for me, for this lab, I'll just stick to the locally redundant storage one because this is the minimum one. And then I'll go to the networking section. Okay, in the networking section, I can select the connectivity method. Okay, so if I want my storage account to be accessed over the internet globally, I will select the first option, which is public endpoint, which says all networks. And if I want my storage account to be accessed from some specific networks, I will select the second option. So in case of selecting second option, it tells me to select the virtual networks that I can use to select to access the storage account. Okay, for me, I will just stick to the first option. And then as for the routing policies, just let Microsoft decide what are the best routing networks for you. Okay, we don't need to really mess up with these settings. So I'll just select the option by default and then go to the data protection option, and then this option, which is enable point in time restore for containers. I do not for this lab I do not need any recovery options, but from the industrial perspective these are very important options, so make sure you read them carefully, and depending upon your own requirement you can select these options. Okay, so the second option is enable soft delete for blobs. Okay, so in case of soft delete, basically what happens is that when you delete a blob or a container, it will be held within the Microsoft Azure itself, okay, for a specific period of time, and until that period you can recover them. Okay, after that it will be permanently deleted. Okay, so we can enable soft delete for our file shares, for containers, for blobs. Okay, so I do not need any of these services. And then the tracking for blobs, okay, which is basically the subscription, the storage account, this kind of information. If you enable it, you will be able to view this kind of information. Okay, but for me, I won't be using it. And then we have enable blob change feed. Okay, keep track of create, modification, delete, change blobs in your account. Okay, so we don't need to really track these changes for the lab, so I don't need to select any option from this blade. I'll just go to the advanced settings, and then the first option is secure transfer required. No, I do not require any security service for that. I'll just leave it as disabled. Now the second option, which is allow storage account key access, make sure you leave it as enabled. Okay, because in this lab ahead we will be using the storage account keys to access our storage account, okay, and uploading the data to it. So if you disable it, you won't be able to access the storage account using the shared access keys. Okay, so make sure you leave it as enabled. Okay, and then the TLS version, just leave it as default, and then some of these options are disabled for me. Okay, so if you want to search more about them, you can always do that, but for me I'll just skip these options. Okay, because for our basic lab demonstration these options are not necessary. And then we have blob storage, allow blob public access. Yes, we'll leave that as enabled because we want our blob to be accessed over the internet. Okay, so then we have Azure large files. Okay, so if I go to the exclamation mark, it tells me that it provides file share support up to a maximum of 100 terabytes. Okay, so if you have such a huge amount of data, then in that case you'll be leaving this option as enabled. Okay, otherwise you disable it. And then table and queues. Okay, so this option is again grayed out for me, so I won't be discussing that. And then tags, I'll leave the tags for now, and just go to review and create. And before creation of any resource in Azure or in any cloud platform, make sure you finally review it, okay, before provisioning the resource. Okay, so for me these settings are absolutely fine, so I'll just go ahead and click on create. And then it will take a while to create the storage account, so I'll get back to you once it is done. Okay, so my storage account has been created. In my storage account list I can see this is my storage account, so I'll click on it, and then in here this is the dashboard for my storage account. Okay, so in here I can select containers or file shares or tables or queues. Okay, so we have not discussed queues. So in short, queues are used for the applications where we need to hold data in a queue. Okay, like some logging application or some transactional sort of applications. Okay, some messages where we need to hold the data in queue format. Okay, so for this lab, let's say I will go ahead and create a container. Okay, so I'll click on containers, and I have no container within my storage account. Okay, so I will just click on add a container, and then I will name it my container. Okay, and then I'll select some access level for my container. Okay, so if I click on this drop down, I have three options. Okay, I have private, blob, container. Okay, so depending upon my requirement, let's say I select this one, anonymous read access for containers and blob. Okay, so anyone can read my containers and blobs anonymously. Okay, so I'll select this option, and then within the advanced section, if I'm using some sort of encryption, I'll be presented with those options. Okay, but this option is uncheckable for me. Okay, maybe because of the subscription, or maybe because of the type of the storage account that I've selected. Okay, so I'll just leave that for now, and then click on create. So it will create a storage container for me. Okay, and I can see my container over here. And if I click on it, I can use the upload option to upload files in my container. Okay. And the second option, this is basically the access level which we discussed at the time of creation. Okay, so if I want to change my access level at any point in time, I can use this option to do that. Okay, so for now, let's say I want to upload some file to this container. Okay, so I'll simply click on upload, and then I will click on browse option. Okay, and then I can select any file. Okay, let's say I have this private key of some server. I'll just upload it and then click on upload. Okay, so we have other options in the advanced sections as well. Okay, so I can either use my authentication tab to be Azure AD account or the account key. Okay, we will discuss what is the account key and shared access signatures in a while. And the blob type is blog, page blog, append blog. Okay, I will not be discussing these options because the description of these options individually is long, and this lecture will go extraordinary long, so I don't want that. And then we have other options as well. Okay, if you want to create a separate folder into it, let's say we create a folder, let's call it my data. I'm sorry, that's a typo. Okay, and I can simply click on upload. Okay, so it's uploading now. So as you can see, the folder has been created. If I go into that folder, I can see my file here. Okay, so this is how simple it is to create a blob container and then upload data to it using the Azure. Okay, now that we have seen how we can upload data to our containers or file shares using the Azure portal, let's try to upload data using the utility called Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, and the reason why we want to do that is because first we want to understand a new utility that we can use to interact with our storage account, and secondly we want to understand the concept of shared access signatures. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is go to the shared access signatures. Okay, now this option we can use these shared access signature keys to provide more fine granular access permissions, okay, to our storage account. So the first option is allowed services. Okay, so I want the permissions on my blob, file, queue, and table. Okay, and then in the allowed resource type, I will select just all of them. Okay, that is fine. Okay, and then the allowed permissions, I can either provide permission for read, write, delete, and so on. Okay, so let's say if I want a user not to be able to delete something from my storage account, okay, using these shared access signatures, I will deselect that option. So let's say I deselect delete. Now if I provide these access signatures to some user to access my storage account, he won't be able to delete, but the rest of the things he will be able to do. Okay, and then we have this is expiry date and time. Okay, this is the time period until this shared access signature expires. Okay, so the time is like 4/20/21 to 4/21/21, and this is the actual time. Okay, until then the access will be provided using these access signatures, and after that the user won't be able to use these access signatures to access our storage account. And then we have the allowed IP addresses. So if I want to whitelist some particular IPs that will be able to interact with my storage account using these access signatures, I can do that. But if I leave this field empty, this means that all of the IP addresses are allowed. Okay, and then as for the access protocols, I will enable all of them. Okay, and this option will come back and understand its importance. Okay, after a while. Now I'll just simply click on generate SAS and connection string, and then it gives me the connection strings. Okay, so what we are concerned with is actually this one and the connection string. So the connection string I'll be using in my Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, and now this service SAS URL, this is actually the URL that will be used by the developer, the application developer, to access my storage account. Okay, and this will be used by the Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, so this is how we can generate the shared access signature keys. Now remember we discussed these protocols. Okay, so if I select only HTTPS, in that case, if the developer tries to access this storage account, using HTTP, he won't be able to access it. But if I select this option, that means that both HTTP and HTTPS are allowed. Okay. So now I'll go to the Azure Storage Explorer and see what configuration we have to do over there. Okay, so now I'll go to my Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, as I have already installed it, so it should be available in my start menu. And then I'll select run as administrator. Okay. So just give it a while to start. Okay, now in order to connect to my storage account, I can select this switch button. Okay, I will click on it, and then I can select a storage account or a blob container in particular, or a file share. Okay, so for now I will just access the whole storage account. So I'll click on storage account, and I'll be using the shared access signature SAS to access. Okay, so I'll select this option and I'll click next, and then I can either type in the SAS connection string or service URL. Okay, so in this case I can either provide this connection string or I can provide this SAS URL. Okay, so let's say I will select this option. I'll just copy this copy to clipboard button and then paste it here. Okay, and then as you can see, it automatically picks up the display name. Okay, so which means that my string is okay, and I'll click next, and simply I will click on connect. Okay, but if you look at the options displayed over here, the features displayed over here, if you look at the service access, I can have access to the blob, file, queues, and tables. Okay, and I have these set of permissions. Okay, and these are the exact same permissions that I had in my SAS signature, if you remember. Okay, and you'll be able to see that the delete option is not there. You see that the delete option is not present. Okay, this is the delete version, not the delete on blob, file, queues, or tables. Okay, so don't get confused into that. So I'll just simply click on connect, and here it is. My storage account has been added successfully. Okay, so this is my storage account basically, and if I expand it, I can either create a blob container or file share or queue or tables. Okay, depending upon my permissions that I provided within these storage shared access signatures. Okay, so let's say I want to upload some data to my blob container. Okay, so I will double click on it, and then this is the folder that I created during the upload from the Azure portal. So I'll double click on it, and here I can see the folder that we created. Okay, so I can further explore it, and then here is the file that I uploaded previously. Okay, so if I want to upload a new file, I'll just click on the upload button and then upload a file. Okay, and then I will browse the file. Let's say I upload this file, which is another key, and then I can simply click on upload. Okay, so it tells me that queue transferring the data to my storage account to the blob container. Okay, and you can see the key has been uploaded. Okay, the file has been uploaded. Now if I want to verify from the portal, I can do that as well. So I'll go to my storage account once again, and if you remember, I had not given the permission to delete while creating these as shared access signatures. Okay, so this means that I should not be able to delete any data from my folder. Okay, so what I did was I deleted the second uploaded file using the Azure portal. Okay, but I'll upload it once again and then try to delete it. Okay, so I'll upload the file once again from the upload files, and then I'll click upload once again. Okay, so the file has now been uploaded, and if I refresh this page, I'll be able to see my file once again. Okay, so what happens if I try to delete this file, okay, or any file? So I'll right click on it and I will try to delete. Yes. And here you can see it gives me an error, failed to start delete because of the insufficient credentials. Okay, so which means that my shared access signature does not have enough credentials to delete this file. Okay, if you remember, during the creation of shared access signatures, I had not given the permission to delete. So this is why I'm unable to delete from Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, but if I go to my portal, from the portal I should be able to delete, because from the portal I'm connected to my storage account, not using the shared access signature but my Azure AD account. Okay, so if I select this file and click delete, I should be able to delete it. Okay, so yes, this was a little bit about Storage Explorer and Microsoft Azure Storage Solutions, and we can see how we can upload the data using shared access signatures and the portal as well. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.